What is going on, YouTube? I'm making this video today because I've actually gotten a couple requests for people that just want to know a little bit more about the background of my life, which is flattering to say the least. I appreciate that anyone wants to know anything about that. But I'm from San Fernando Valley, which is in LA County. It's easier for me to just tell people I'm from LA because the town I'm from is called Tujunga. And when you tell people you're from Tujunga, you're like, oh, what's South America like? So I just tell people I'm from LA, but I lived there for the majority of my life. I've moved like 26 times. My dad was a machinist. My mom worked with kids with special needs. But we moved a lot. You know, he was always just kind of following where the work went. I lived in Las Vegas for a little while. I actually went to 3 different middle schools. I went to 6th grade in Fillmore, which is like Ventura County. I went to 7th grade in San Fernando Valley, and then I did 8th grade in Las Vegas. When I was 14, living in Las Vegas, like 13, 14, I hated my life and I hated living out there, so I ended up moving back by myself to go live with my friend's parents while my immediate family kind of sorted their own shit out. Come here. I have an old cat. His name is Boy. Come here. Yeah, this is my cat. And so when then my parents moved back to LA, out of Las Vegas, and then I moved in with them a little bit later. But so I wanted to move back, not just because my home life sucked, but because I really wanted to have like a genuine high school experience. I want to go to the same high school for all 4 years. I was able to do that. And I actually really liked high school. High school was a blast for me. I was always kind of like a social butterfly. Funny enough, I went to high school with Giancarlo Stanton. He played for the Marlins for a while, and now I think he's over at the Yankees, but I don't really follow sports. But good for him. That's awesome. Made it to the big leagues. But after high school, I've said it in a couple other videos, but I ended up winning that TV show Wipeout, that obstacle course game show. And actually, when I won that show, I was kind of homeless, like living with a bunch of my friends, like kind of around the town of Tujunga. I got really into the punk rock lifestyle and a lot of the aspects of doing that, and sleeping outside and getting pissed drunk and going to shows and fighting, and that was all kind of part of it. And everything I've ever done, I usually kind of like envelop my entire being into it, including drinking. But so once I won that money, I blew through it pretty quickly, within like 6 months, and it was $51,000. So, and that partying like that kind of led into a lot of my drug and alcohol abuse, and that's kind of what led me to Northern California. Well, that's exactly what led me up here. When I was doing heroin and doing a bunch of other drugs too, and I got to this point where I kind of like looked at myself and I realized I didn't like myself anymore, and that I was kind of like, I never thought I would be in that position, and I hated it. And my cousin Brady came down, and he kind of gave me, boy, shush, he gave me this opportunity to move up north, and so I just took it, and I moved up here, and I haven't regretted it since. And so I've been living in Santa Rosa for like a little over 9 years, I think now. And when I moved up here, I was thinking in my head, I'm like, well, hey, I'm not doing, heroin anymore. I'm not doing like really bad drugs. So I can drink as much as I want because it's not street drugs, and that was kind of a huge misleading factor that I thought of, because that made me think that I can just do that to any length, and that's fine because it's legal and everyone drinks. And that really was like that kind of methodology, that thinking is really kind of what led to my ultimate demise. And when I moved up here, I discovered craft ale, which until that point, I just had been drinking, like shit beer, like Steel Reserve or like, Miller, Budweiser, all that kind of shit. And that's just in my mind, that was beer. And then I moved up here, and I think Lagunitas IPA was the first like craft ale I had. And I was like, dude, this shit is strong and it tastes really good. Like, I'm just going to drink this. And then that made me seek out working in breweries, because there's a lot of them up here. And also with the brewery world, it's easy to kind of like get confused where you're like, I'm not an alcoholic, I just love craft ale and I like trying all these new beers. And you know, so what if I'm drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning? It's a hazy IPA, or it's the new Goza that they have out, and I'm like, you're still drinking a beer at fucking 10:30 in the morning. So it's within that industry. I think it also allowed me to drink longer with less of an alarm. Like, had I been, you know, an accountant, I think drinking the way I did would have raised a lot more flags earlier. So that might be something to think about if you're in the service industry, where, you know, you work a big shift and you get off and everyone's kind of expecting to have a drink. It's really easy to have that become such a habitual thing that when you're not at work, you're even like, well, why aren't we drinking? You know, so keep an eye out for that. But I guess a little bit more about me. I really love tattoos. I used to play a lot of video games. I don't really have too much time for them anymore, except for this new God of War game that I'm playing. You guys know what it looks like. It is amazing. I highly recommend it if you like video games. I've been with my girlfriend Jenica it'll be 9 years in June 8th. She has been with me through all of it. She was with me before I was able to legally drink at 19 when I got with her, and I'll be 29 next month. Getting closer to 10 years. But I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's our June 8th is our 9-year anniversary. But yeah, it's been crazy to grow that much with someone and to be with someone for that long. We have together gone to many weddings and witnessed their divorces. So it's kind of a trip, and it's a beautiful thing to be a part of a relationship that has that much longevity to it, and especially that much transformation, and being able to kind of weather the storm of all that. And it wasn't easy. There were definitely a couple times where we almost split up, but all of the negative aspects in my life and my relationship all came down to drinking. And I just didn't want to admit it, you know, because letting go of alcohol just seemed like such a daunting task. It just felt like letting go of alcohol was letting go of fun and my youth, and it seemed like everyone was hanging out inside of a room and they were all partying, and there was one person saying, not you, you need to leave, you can't be a part of this anymore. And really, and that's what it kind of like felt like to even think about addressing that. But really what it was just me partying by myself, you know, and everyone else was, you know, kind of doing their own thing. And so I was just, you know, carrying on this illusion in my head and saying that, like, oh God, like, I'm going to miss out on all the fun. But, you know, even when I look back at the way I drank, it wasn't like I was out at parties and socializing and having all this fun. Like, sometimes I was doing that, but a lot of the times I was drinking alone. I was drinking by myself. So, let's see. A little bit more about me. Obviously, I like lifting weights. It's technically powerlifting is the majority of what I do, and then I kind of supplement it with a lot of bodybuilding accessories. I have said in a couple other videos I would like to find a meet here soon, and this gym that I've been helping kind of get started is hopefully going to be having some meets here pretty soon, so I might have one in my own backyard here. As far as more about me, I guess I can't really think of anything else too much off the top of my head. I'm not into sports at all. I don't follow any sports. I like comic books and video games and nerdy shit like Game of Thrones. I don't know if you can see this one of my little dragon goblets that I have right there. It's just always been more enjoyable to me. Even in lifting and in sobriety, I will put my mind into characters that I kind of like look up to, or I want certain traits of, like Batman or Kratos or Venom, like things like that. Like that's like in a lift, I'll put my mind there, you know, and that's what's actually a lot of fun about sobriety and how you can make it fun, is that it can be whatever works for you. It doesn't have to be this structured thingamajiggy that, you know, isn't necessarily appealing for you. It can be whatever you want. Like if you wake up every day and you have to imagine that you are, you know, Kratos fighting off demons and the demons are alcohol and that works for you, then do that. I'm sorry I'm gurgly. I have a protein shake in me and it's just all chumbly, so sorry about that. But yeah, you just make it whatever you want. And for me, since that's kind of like the things that I'm into, I've made that a part of my sobriety, a part of my journey. My goals looking forward that I would like to do, I'm almost out of debt. I've been in a decent amount of debt from 2 DUIs and from paying off a certain amount of debt by taking out a loan off my credit cards and then racking up the credit cards again because I was being a drunk piece of shit. So I'm so close to being out of all that debt. And then next year, I want to start traveling. And I haven't been out of the country yet. You know, at almost 29 years old, I haven't even been to Hawaii. I've been to, you know, a handful of states around the U.S. And I attribute a lot of that to just being complacent with alcohol, you know, enjoying just getting fucked up where I was, you know. Why did I need to go anywhere else if I could get fucked up here, you know? So I would love to go travel. Maybe that'll help me kind of like work on my book a little bit more as well. And then my big ultimate goal is to eventually do a TED Talks and kind of talk about how sobriety and therapy, we can definitely look inside before we even necessarily need to seek outside help. And if I could figure out a way to kind of compile that in a digestible manner and have that help people, that's kind of like my big goal. So anyway, at this point, I feel like I'm kind of rambling. I'm sure there's some other things I could have said. If you guys have any questions or comments, always leave them below. I always appreciate the support. I'm flattered that anyone even wanted to know any of this stuff. And I guess I'll see you guys later. Like, share, subscribe. Share this with anyone that you think might help. I don't know what this video would necessarily help too many people, but I always love talking to you guys. So, as always, stay sober.